Hello, prisoners. It's day 90 of the Bible in a Year, and we're reading Judges chapters 4 and 5 and Ruth chapter 2. In the book of Judges, now we're going to get this female judge, Deborah, who it says in verse 4 is a religious leader and a sort of a civic leader. She, unusual in those ancient times for a woman, but she is called a prophetess, and it says she judges Israel. She sits under a palm tree, her palm tree, the palm of Deborah, and she's famous. People come to her for judgment, for decisions about how they should act and relate to one another, perhaps. Later in chapter 5, she's called a mother in Israel. So she's kind of a motherly figure, like a queen, in a beautiful way. A little later in verse 8, this big, tough soldier fellow, Barak, he says, yeah, I'll go to the war, I'll go to battle against the enemy, Sisera, but I won't go unless you go. He wants Deborah to go with him. And he says, if you go with me, I will go. And because of that, he's kind of told that was kind of cowardly, and so he's not going to get any glory, that the enemy is going to fall by the hand of a woman instead because he didn't show courage. But that little phrase, though, we could use that in our spiritual lives. We who are devoted to the Blessed Virgin Mary know that it's no shame in realizing that in the battle of life against the devil, in fact, especially, we turn to Our Lady and we say those words, perhaps. If the Blessed Virgin is with us, we're not afraid. If you go with me, I will go. So yes, Deborah is a type or a prophecy of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Also, another type or symbol of the Blessed Virgin Mary, a little bit later in the chapter, is that other heroic woman, Jael, and she is the one who gets the glory because she's courageous in slaying this evil man, this enemy of Israel, Sisera. He goes into her tent, and it says that she covered him in a rug. I always picture him being wrapped up like an enchilada, like a tamale or something, kind of rolled up in the rug, to sort of hide him that way. And if you think of it that way, you can see that maybe she was planning to sort of, be able to attack him or to harm him or kill him without him being able to move. So kind of just say, here, I'll roll you up in this rug here. And if she did that, then it would certainly look like a snake or a serpent. And so when she crushes his head with a mallet, with a peg, through his temple, it's very much, as Father Michael Schmitz says, it's very much a symbol of the Blessed Virgin Mary, that she crushes the head of the enemy. And that's exactly what the Blessed Virgin Mary does. And it's a prophecy, of course, it's a fulfillment of the prophecy. As Father Michael Schmitz says, it is a fulfillment of this prophecy that the woman, the seed of the Eve's seed would crush the head of the serpent. And so it's a prophecy of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And in fact, in the poem that we get in the next chapter, chapter 5, verse 24, it says, most blessed of women be Jael, of tent-dwelling women most blessed. And that little phrase is very similar to what is used later to describe other female heroines like Judith in chapter 13 of the book of Judith, and then to the Blessed Virgin Mary. She is also described that way as most blessed among women, of course, by the angel in Luke chapter 1, verse 42. In the book of Ruth, we're now in chapter 2, which continues the story. And as I mentioned, it's a book, a little small book, the book of Ruth, that's perfectly written, and it has a beautiful structure. And it, again, begins and ends with these two lines or genealogies. The line of Elimelech and the line of Boaz. And poor Noemi, seems that her husband and her sons-in-law both die, and it seems that her family name is about to be destroyed. But along comes this hero, Boaz, who's a relative, a redeemer, a Goel, who is going to fulfill that role of making sure that descendants are born from that family. And so it's a constant theme in the scriptures of seeming that God's promises to his people are going to go unfulfilled, but then at the last moment there's a sort of a reversal and a saving of the family, and so that a descendant can be born. And in this case it was later going to be King David, and Jesus Christ himself was going to be born of that family line. And all of that is foreshadowed in the fact that this whole story now, once they get back to Israel, is at Bethlehem. It's in this place which is Bethlehem. And so it's a man from Bethlehem, and his name is Boaz, and the word Boaz means in him is strength. He's a strong man and a pious man. In fact, in chapter 2, verse 4, his first words are, "The Lord be with you." So he's a very pious man. And so this book of Ruth is really showing, Bethlehem as a sort of a place where the faith of Israel is truly lived, and these Jewish people are faithful to Yahweh and to the Lord. And so, and Boaz is obviously keeping the law. One of the laws of Israel was that they not harvest the fields so thoroughly that the poor can't take a little bit on the edges. So you're supposed to leave a little bit for the poor. And so he fulfills the letter of the law, but also the spirit of the law, because he then instructs his workers to leave even more, whole, sheaves or bundles of grain, to leave it for Ruth in her need. And so he is truly described as a very faith-filled man of Israel. It's actually in Leviticus chapter 19 where it says that you should not reap your field all the way to the edge, but you should leave some for the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow. And in fact, poor Ruth actually fulfills all three of those categories. She's a foreigner, a sojourner. She comes from another place, and she's fatherless. She doesn't have her parents because her family has passed away. And she's also a widow. Her husband had passed away. And so Ruth is truly in need, and Boaz has great respect for her and treats her with dignity. And they say that it's kind of a real contrast to the book of Judges that comes right before that, where women are often treated poorly. They are sacrificed, abused, murdered, dismembered, abducted in the book of Judges. But now we get this book of Ruth, which really shows that the religion of Israel is a religion of great respect for womanhood, and that women have this dignity that needs to be respected. Then Boaz, in verses 11 to 12, he gives a blessing to Ruth, and he says, "I've heard about all the good that you've done for your mother-in-law, how good you've been, even though you're a foreigner, that you've been so faithful and good." And he says, "The Lord recompense you for what you have done and give you a full reward," he says. And so that's the drama of this book that we're going to continue to read. The reader kind of wonders, well, this poor Ruth, she's suffered so much. Will the Lord truly come through? Will this blessing be fulfilled? Will God be faithful to Ruth? And that is what you're hoping for in the rest of the book of Ruth.